Good evening. Hello, Flordelis. Hello, Blanca. Give me
Hello,
two.
teacher. How are you?
Very good. Let's give me a second. Now we can start the class, right?
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to turn off my video because the internet here is not good. So it's going to be very slow.
Aquí. En mi casa.
Okay, so we have here Carlos, good, John Aver, good evening.
Good evening, teacher.
Hi, John. How is everything?
Everything is okay, and you?
Yeah, very good.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. Okay, so I think that we can start the class. So we have Noemi and Liliana here as well. Let me see who else. Mm, Okay, very good. We have 7 participants. 6. Blanca, Carlos, Flor, John Aver, Liliana, Noemi. Okay, very good. So we are going to start right now with our class, and I'm going to ask you, what do you remember, or what do we study last class, last time that we saw each other? I'm listening to you. Do you remember something?
Teacher, my personal case, I can stay in the class because I work it this night, but I trying to see the recording to class too, but I can't do it
Yes, I
because
forgot.
my mhm.
Yes,
Yeah,
sorry.
actually we have doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I'm going to
And
upload it. I'm going to upload it tonight, sir.
yes, and actually we have some difficult troubles with the workshop. Yes, because there is an specific topics that I can understand correctly. Um, and I don't know if you can begin the class with try to explain us this kind of topics. I mean, in my personal case, I don't know what do you think my classmates.
Okay, right. But we did that last class, so I'm going to upload the video, and you are going to watch the video, so
Okay,
you can see some things related to that, right? Because
it's possible. Okay,
we did that last class. We analyzed the points and we saw how can we or how could we develop each one of the points of the workshop, right?
okay, perfect.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, right. So there were a comment here. Liliana was says utterance meaning. Okay, we were talking about meaning last class. It's unstable. Can you listen to me?
Yes, teacher.
Okay,
Yes,
sorry.
teacher.
Yes, there was a message here telling me that the connection was not stable. Okay, so we analyzed last class something related to meaning. So let me see here very quickly. We talk about the meaning and the natural and the relationship about the sign and the language and the word. So the relationship that I mean the fact that something is outside and we generate some concepts but we use some references, right? And the reference is not the same for everybody, right? When we talk about houses, the house that we think is not the same house, right? So we started the levels of meaning, the sentence, expression, and the utterance meaning, and we said that the sentence and expression are belong to semantics, but the utterance meaning belongs to pragmatics, right? The expression meaning, sentence expression. This is something that we are already analyzed. We saw this example, remember, about the meaning and how the meaning can change just because of the speaker or the context. So it is very important the context when we are talking about the meaning, especially when we analyze that from the uh, pragmatic point of view, right? Yep. Okay. So here we are going to continue with this one. This is the example that we analyzed last time, right? So to successfully analyze meaning as used by speakers of a language, we need to distinguish various aspects of a communication situation. So this is the part of grammatics because here, as you can see, they are sentences, but also they are utterances, right? And we analyze the difference between sentence and utterance. However, there is another one that explains the difference between utterances and sentences, right? So remember that utterance is something or everything that is spoken, and the utterance can contain sentences. But the sentence is something that you say, could be, or that you can, or that you write, but not necessarily a sentence uh, is an utterance. It is not necessary, but an utterance is always a sentence. That is the relation. Yeah. So we have here consider the sentence. John stole the meat pie. John stole the meat pie. When I say John stole the meat pie, it becomes into an utterance, right? So every time this sentence is spoken, the result is a new utterance of the same sentence. So how many utterances with the same sentence did I say? How many? I said 3 times the same sentence, right? When I repeated the sentence 3 times, I said 3 utterances with the same sentence. Okay, so there can be many utterances of the same sentence. So every single person in this class, we are 10. If we all say the same sentence, there are 10 utterances with the same sentence. Okay? Okay, sorry, give me a second, please. Okay, sorry. So we are going to continue because this is something that we have already analyzed in the first class. This is also something that it is the characteristic of the utterance. So this is inevitably bound the utterance to the context, right? So remember the last class we analyzed that the context is very important in order to understand what a sentence means. Yes, when you are speaking, the context is important, and the context is who the message is addressed to, the physical surroundings, the disfluences, etc. So there are many factors that can affect the the context, and it is important to take into account. So the sentence, as we analyzed before, the sentence is the abstract grammatical object that an utterance represents. So when something is said, there is an abstract grammatical object. So in this case, for example, this one, the one that you are reading, is the abstract grammatical object. That means a sentence. So roughly, this focus only on grammar and lexicon. So roughly is difficultly. So there are reasons to distinguish from utterances, the sentence, and we already explained that in the first class. There can be many utterances of the same sentence. We can quote somebody else, extracting the sentence that underlies their utterance. So we can say, she said that John stole the meat pie. So here, the utterance is, she said that John stole the meat pie, but the sentence that were underlined the previous utterance is John stole the meat pie. Yeah. So this is what it means. We can quote somebody else's utterance. And the distinction gives us a way of abstracting aspects of language from their specific context of use. So the sentence can be analyzed in isolation, but it can mean another thing, as we could see in the previous example, or the example that we analyzed last class about the bicycle. So the same sentence, different utterances in different contexts, right? So as you explained as well, semantics is the study of the sentence and the linguistic meaning, but pragmatics is the study of the utterance and the speaker meaning, right? So here we have an example. You made great black coffee. I've just had lunch, and the walls were in nice color. So here sentences have invariant context independent properties in virtue of the meaning of the words. So we understand the sentence here. You made great black coffee. Yeah. I've just had lunch, and the walls were very nice color. The three sentences are very understandable. However, if they were utterances, we need more things or more elements to understand what the meaning of each one of the sentences of the utterances are, right? Or is in this case. The meaning of the utterance is context dependent. So we need the context. So let's see. Semantics versus pragmatics, we already understood this, so I'm not going to go deeper on this. And here, pay attention to this picture. Which of those figures is the princess of Spain? How could you answer? You can write your answers on the chat. Who is the princess? Could you please write your answers? Let's see what happens. Francisco, what happened? You have a new look? Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, good. Blanca, you don't need to give the whole explanation. Just give the sentence. You already gave the sentence. The girl with white dress, the blonde in the middle. What else? Give me more ideas. Who is the princess of Spain? How could you describe that? Or how can you tell me who the princess is? Any other idea?
The little blonde girl.
Okay, the little blonde girl. So pay attention to these examples that you already gave, and we are going to have here other examples. You could reply the girl in the white dress. So it is true. The girl in the middle. So it is true. Or the person being tended by the kneeling maid. So this is the kneeling maid and she is tending this one, right? So you can give many descriptions trying to describe many sentences, sorry, trying to describe the same girl in the middle or the same girl, the princess of Spain. So it means that we have a referent. Yeah. So these different expressions mean different things, have different contents, sorry. However, they all pick out the same entity in this context, the princess of Spain. So again, they have different content. Even the ones that you wrote on the chat, there was the blonde in the middle. You didn't mention the girl or the girl with the white dress. They are different sentences and they have different content. But they all refer to the same entity. And this entity is the princess of Spain, right? because we understand the context, right? So they refer, it means that they refer all the sentences to the princess, the same princess. In a different context, the girl in the white dress could pick out something different, right? So the girl in white dress could be anyone. However, as we are seeing the context, we understand who the girl in the white dress is. Sometimes it can fail to pick out anything, so an action on the part of the speaker is this referent. Hello? Hello? Can you listen? Hello, can you listen?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, very good. So, any questions so far? Do you understand this thing about the referent? Okay, let's continue. Okay.
Nos vemos, hermano Mario, que esté muy bien.
Ciao, Mario. Okay, here is the explanation that you already said before. Reference is a relationship between a parts of a language and things outside the language. So it is in the world. So the relationship between parts of a language and something that it is in the world, right? So for example here, my house. When you say my house, there is a relationship between the words my house and the thing is outside the word. So your place, where you live, right? For some people, my house could be an apartment, I don't know, right? But for others, it could be a big house or it could be a small house. It could be a house in the city or a house in the country, right? So it represents something outside these words. There is a meaning to them, right? So, but it depends also on your context. So the meaning comes from the fact that the words represent, symbolize, or indicate, or refer to some real object in the real world. Yeah, and this is more or less what we analyze with examples of the house uh, last class. Yeah, and that thing though is the object or the thing in the real world is your referent, right? Any two expressions which refers to the same thing in the real world have the same referent. And the referent is the real word thing indicated by the words. For example, in this case, in this case, uh, when we say the teacher, what is the referent that you think of?
Teacher.
Yes, the teacher. What is the referent?
A man or a woman?
Yes, but in this context.
Is the person who teach.
You, teacher.
Me. I am your referent. Yes, I am the referent. In this context, I am the referent. Yeah? When you are teaching in a classroom and we say the teacher, who is the referent?
Me, in that case, me.
You, exactly. So the referent could change depending on the context in which we are talking to or we are talking about, right? So the referent in the real word thing indicated by the words could be anything depending on the context as well. Yeah? Or not anything, but the thing that the context determined. Yep. Okay. So, okay, we can skip this one and we can skip this one. Okay. So here we have different types of reference. So there are three ones. That the first one is the definite reference. So the entity referred to is unequally identifiable from context, right? So, example, the boy kicked my dog. When you say the boy, it means that you know the boy and you know who the boy is. When you say a boy, you are talking about an indefinite reference. So it is not unequally. So it is not easily to identify from the context. Yeah? But when you are talking about here the generic reference, it refers to a whole class of entities rather than to individual members. For example, dogs are mammal. When we talk about dogs, we are talking about the generic referent. So it could be the whole species. And here, when we talk about tigers are found in Asia, tigers is the whole species. We are not talking about any tiger in particular. When we say the tiger or the tigers, we are saying that the reference is definite. When we said a tiger, we said that the reference is indefinite. So it could be any tiger or a tiger that I don't know, right? So it depends also on the language, or the language help us to determine what kind of reference we are talking about, right? And also the context. So here we have something that is called the notation. Do you understand what the notation is? The denotation. So here we said often used interchangeably, reference of the notation. So the word Labrador denotes or refers to a kind of dog. So the denotation is a stable relationship between a word phrase in a language and the thing class of things it stands for in the word. This is the denotation, so the stable relationship. So when we talk about here Labrador, it denotes a kind of dog. And reference the use of a word phrase to pick out something in the word relevant to some situation. So we can use the notation or reference in some cases interchangeably. Yeah, but usually the notation is what it is implicit in the word, what it means, right? And reference is what we are talking about outside of the word. I mean, outside in the word. So therefore, the notation denote is context-free, but reference refer is context-dependent. The notation is context-free and reference is context-dependent. So, an example with this word, Labrador. When we talk about Labrador, it refers to a kind of word, a kind of dog. That's the denotation. But if we say the Labrador who lives next door, I don't know, we are talking about a referent and a specific dog of this bird who lives next door, right? So it is the reference. Yep. When we say Labrador dogs like swimming, I don't know. So when we talk about that way, we are using reference. Yep. Okay. So it means that reference occurs in language use. Referent is the entity picked out by an act of reference. Example, the reference of your Labrador in I like your Labrador is a particular kind of dog which is large in size and often used by blind people. That's the reference, your Labrador. Okay, and we are going to skip this one because we don't care much of that. And sorry, here we have here sense and reference. That was the other topic that we wanted to talk about. So the reference of an expression is what it stands for on a given occasion of its use. That's the reference. Okay, so we understood the reference as something that is real in the word and can denote something. So the sense of an expression is the way the reference is presented. The reference is what it stands for, and the sense is the way, right? So the proposition, the information content grasp in understanding a sentence. So what it means, I mean, everything has to do with meaning, but you can use a sentence in order to mean something different from the sentence. Yes? For example, the one that we said last time, it is raining cats and dogs. So the sense of that is different because we are meaning that it is raining heavily. Yep. But senses are not subjective, different from one person to the next. We share senses. So this sense is understandable in all the contexts. I mean, for other people in the same context. The senses have to be understandable. Let's see. There are two examples. The two sentences are the same. The morning star is the morning star. The morning star is the evening star. Sorry. Here we have two different words. So both the morning star and the evening star pick out the same entity, Venus, and so have the same reference. So the morning star and the evening star is Venus. However, they have different senses. The morning star, the star that you see in the morning at time 1 and latitude 1, and the evening star, the star that you see in the evening at time 2, latitude 2. So it means that it could be the same star, but people around, or two people in different places, they see differently. One sees that in the morning and the other in the evening, right? So in this sentence, the morning star is the morning star, the reference and sense coincide. The expression on both sides of the copula, it means the morning star and the morning star, have the same reference and sense. But in 1b, the two expressions have the same reference. This is the same star, the same reference, but different sense. Because in some places, this star is in the evening. Okay, so it is kind of complicated with this example, but this is not that difficult to understand. So two references or the same reference can have different senses depending on the context, on the place that you talk about, right? So expressions can have a sense but not reference. So we have here, one can know what expression it means but not know its reference. For example, the star furthest from the earth. Do you know this star? What is the star furthest from the earth? It has sense for us because we understand the words. Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. You understand the words and you understand furthest,
What is
the-
furthest?
la más lejana, the star furthest, la estrella más lejana de la Tierra.
Okay.
So you understand the text, right? And it has a sense for you. But what is the name of the star furthest from the Earth? Have you ever seen the star furthest from the Earth? Is it possible to see this one? Is it possible to have a reference? It is not possible. Well, we understand we understand the context, right? And it has a sense for us. And we know that there is a star that is farther, very, very far. Okay, very, very far. So, but expressions which have the same sense must have the same reference. Okay, while the expressions with the same reference may have different senses. With the same sense, they have the same reference. But with the same reference, they could have different senses, sorry. So the same reference could have different senses. Okay. So, to fulfill the task of describing meaning, linguistics has proposed different approaches with respect to reference. The first one is the direct one, that is the referential denotational theory of meaning. So, meaning to be described in terms of relationships between the language and the word, it means direct connection between the words of the expressions and the object. So, this direct one has to do with the denotation of the reference. Yes. If we say, for example, rose, you understand the direct meaning because the reference is a rose that is red, and that's the denotation, right? So the other one is the indirect, that it is the representational, the theory meaning. So meanings to be described in terms of mental representation of the word. It means they are mind interim in the sense that humans use language to make sense of the word, things, or events through their mental process. So, for example, the concept of peace. So it has an indirect meaning because it represents a representation. The piece could be described and could be different from many people, and depending on the context, piece means something, right? So there is an indirect meaning. There is an indirect meaning because of that. So the representation of that is not that clear, or it is not the same for everybody. Yeah. But in the first one that is the direct, we have the object. For example, we have coffee, and we understand coffee because of the denotation of that. But in the representational, the best coffee, it could be different from many people. I mean, in many parts of the world could be different. And it is not always the same one. It could be the one in the cafeteria, it could be the one at home, it could be the Colombian coffee, it could be, I don't know, the Arabic coffee, whatever. Yes, so the meaning is, yes, the meaning is different because the reference is different as well, right? So here we have the direct view of reference. We have the proper nouns, Jackie Chan, Beijing. So Jackie Chan and Beijing are two people. Oh, sorry, it's two people. This is one person, and this is a place that we can identify easily. So it has a direct meaning. Bird, cat, elephant. The verbs drive, sing, love, resemble. The adjectives on the others. Right? We understand this, and we understand the meanings, and we understand the denotation of those. But here we have the indirect, that are the representations of mental projected word, right? So it could be the memory, so it should be described in terms of mental representations. So here, within languages, the speaker can choose to depict the same situation in different ways. For example, verbal aspects, voice alternation would cast doubt on the direct view of the relation between words and objects, sentence and situations. So here we have two different conversations. The context is here, right? And it is clear. The time. Have you seen Professor Pinker? I talked or I was talking to him this morning. So pay attention to the context, right? If the time were different, these were different as well. The meaning, not the sentence or the utterance. Tom appeared with bandaged hand. What happened to Tom? His cat scratched him. He got scratched by his cat, right? But because he appeared with bandaged hand, and we understand the meaning. So the representational is that there is something, a situation, a thing or a situation in the word, there is a linguistic expression, and we have the mental model of the word here. So it is this connection that happens in here, what we have in our head. Okay. Right. So the relation between expressions, words and sentence, and things in the word is mediated by the mind, and this is a cognitivist view. So the mind is the one that it is going to relate both things, these two situations. Okay, the things and the situations and the linguistic expression. So it is the mind. This is the cognitivist point of view, right? Okay, so I think that we don't need the other part of this. So I'm going to open here the space for question related to the workshop that we have to this is present. Sorry. The workshop of unit number 2. Do you have any question about this topic? Do you solve could you solve properly the exercises about reference and truth, sense, reference, and truth? Do you have any question about this? A punctual question?
I have a problem, and teacher, I don't understand the difference between antonymy converse and the binary.
Binary.
Binary, okay.
Sorry. Okay. Let me see. It is in reference. Yes? Which point?
No, would be point 8, I think.
Ah, here. Ah,
Yeah.
here.
Yes.
Okay, here. Okay, so binary means that it is the opposition, the opposite, direct opposite of that, of the other one. Right? Is the direct opposite. Gradable means that these antonyms have like a, there is an opposition, but it could be other oppositions.
Yes, like a level of oppositions.
Yes, very good. And the converse antonym, let me check because I am not, okay, I don't remember. I have to be honest.
Converse describes a relationship between two things or people, and
Mm-hmm.
some other lexeme
Okay, but they,
describes relationship. And when the two things are mentioned in the opposite order, then the two lexemes are converse of each other. Example, below, above.
mm-hmm, that they are converse.
Yep.
But this is not
Only has
binary
to be
too.
one of them.
Sorry?
This is not binary too.
But they are not in complete opposition. They are not in complete opposition. There could be, I mean, mm,
Binary come in pairs
yeah, binary,
normally.
but yes, normally. So, for
Mhm.
example, good and bad.
Did
Yes.
alive,
Yes, live and die. Yes, alive or dead.
dead alive, yeah.
Yes, dead and alive. They are binary, so they come in pairs. But these pairs could be in a position, but not necessarily is a binary opposition. There could be other positions with that antonym. Okay, I mean with that word. Yes.
For
So
example,
could you please repeat the
uh,
example, Lily, Blanca?
Yeah, in terms of converse, the examples that I have is below, above, or own, belong to.
Okay. And why they are converse?
Why?
Yes.
Be, because they are describing a relationship, um, uh, and um, and they are opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And you can say below as the first one, and then the opposite is above. But also at the same time, you can say above, immediately you think the opposite is above. So it's in vice versa, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, that's why I think it's converse.
So you need something in order to make the antony. It's what she means. So it also depends on the, let's see, on the relationship that it happens. So in the example of Blanca, for example, we can say that, I don't know, the bulb, el bombillo,
Yep.
mhm.
is above my head. Yes, and my head is below the bulb, but only because of this position. It is not a direct or a necessarily binary relationship. It exists because the other exists. Yes? Is it
Yeah,
clear?
and
Okay,
The
and
the
little
the
I
better.
and
the
I
an
call
sorry.
just to try to understand the difference between converse and binary, because it was hard to understand when I read them the first time. For me the keyword to understood was the word order, the opposite order. So
Yeah.
just think about order, which is different of binary, because binary to me to understand it was just to think in pairs but not in order.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh,
This converse depends each one of the other to exist, but there is not an opposition, a binary opposition.
it's not the extreme opposition.
Could be the extreme opposition, but it is not necessarily okay. One depends on the other, right?
Okay.
So in Spanish, for example, el ejemplo de Blanca, si uno dice que algo está encima, es porque algo está debajo. Si no hay
Sí.
nada debajo, no puede haber nada encima.
Pero teacher, the opposite of encima no es debajo.
Sí, pero, sí, pero no puede haber nada debajo si no hay nada encima. O sea, es
Which
una
is
relación.
different, is
Yes,
completely different if you say time false, you know.
exacto. Sí, exacto.
Time false is binary.
Time force,
Which one?
True false.
Ah,
true,
true,
false.
false.
True false
Sí,
Yes,
is
ellos,
it's
binary.
completely binary. Yes,
binary.
because it's not nothing in between. Yes.
Exact. No, and actually, you don't need to. Yes, could be that there is not
I don't
nothing
need
in
to make a
between,
comparison. This is like
but it is
this.
binary also because, and it is not converse because you don't need the false to have the truth, or you don't need the
Ah,
truth to have the
okay.
false. Yes, and actually, man and woman, they are binary because you don't need the woman to have a man, or you don't need the man to have a woman.
Like
Do you
this, I
understand?
understand better. Yes,
Yes,
yes, exactly.
but in the case of the opposition, for example, this one in front and behind,
Yeah, it's converse.
in order to exist in front is because you have something behind. If there is nothing behind, in front cannot exist.
Yes, now I
Oh,
understand, teacher.
yes?
Because yes, with the explanation of the binary like this, like I understand now. Thank you so
Ah,
much.
okay. And thank you to Blanca because I I didn't remember, but I could remember because of her explanation. Thank you very
Because
much.
I was
Okay.
doing my exercise, but I was thinking, but I noticed that I was trying to make it hard.
Yeah, and it is very, very confusing sometimes if we don't pay attention to that relationship between the two things, right? Yes?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's true. Any other question about this exercise? You sent the exercise, right?
Yes.
Most of you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I know that someone hasn't, but I don't know because you told me, right? Okay. So there is a reference here, a reference example. So it has to do with the kind of relation they establish each one to the other. So what you have to organize here or pay attention here is what is a prototypical or a stereotypical or stereotype or a non-prototypical, right?
So hard. I don't understand that one.
Which ones?
The number 12. The number 12. What's 12 is? No, no, sorry. The number 10.
This one, a
Yeah.
prototype. So according to your research or according to your readings, what is a prototype in semantics? What is a prototype? What do you understand by prototype?
It's an object that is held to be very typical of the kind of object being referred to.
It
Mm-hmm.
has to have the main characteristics of the type.
Yeah. So could you please give me an example of prototype?
For example, house. House, the prototypical house must have a bedroom, kitchen, a bathroom, and a ballroom, and
Oh,
I think
okay, ballroom, I don't know. But okay. And what is the non-prototypical?
non-prototypical must be
The features that one is expected.
Uh-huh.
yes, one house without bedroom.
Yes. Or one house, exactly. Or one house
It's
maybe without,
impossible.
yes, it is impossible. Or one house without a bathroom or a toilet. Yeah, that it is impossible. And then one is an stereotype.
It can be a house with a garage. That is not necessary, but it is better, no?
Okay.
It's something abstract, something that we have like a thought about something.
Mm-hmm.
It's the idea
Something
that
like
we have about something.
something like can be added to the characteristics, but it's not completely necessary.
It is not completely necessary. So we have here uh, the three words: the prototype, the non-prototype, and the stereotype. So we can identify the prototype of the car, the non-prototypical member. So what is the non-prototypical member? And what could be the stereotype of the car, right?
Right.
Okay. So any other? Okay, I think that you finished the other things. Okay, remember that for the next session, that it is next Monday, we are going to have the presentations and that you have to upload first here the presentation, and it could be on Monday. On Monday, yes, it could be on Monday afternoon. Doesn't matter. It could be on Monday afternoon, but I need all the presentations that you are going to show in here, right? Just to have them all the day of the presentation, that it is next Monday. And you are going to explain, remember that the idea is not to explain what sense, reference, and truth is, but to give us example using the different aspects that we have analyzed from sense, reference, and truth in this case. Yep, right? Okay, guys. So, let me see, there is something in the chat. Okay, yes. Okay, teacher, okay. Thank you very much. So I see, or I could see that most of you have established the groups for working with the presentation. So that's very good. I am going to upload the two videos today. The video that we have today, or this video that we are recording today, and the video of uh, from the last class because I forgot. So, but I'm going to do it right now, right? Just for you to check something if you need or something like that. And they are going to be here in the communication space. So wait for them. I am going to close the class right now because I have to finish early today. Something happens with this, I don't know why, but okay. Yep. So in case that you have questions or problems, I am going to be very pending on your messages, right? So have a good night and see you next time. To send the exercise. Okay, don't worry. You can send the exercise uh, this week. Okay.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay. Okay, and the same with I don't remember. I think that is your neighbor. You can send that today. Oh, maybe this week. Okay, but today's maybe it's not. Okay. Okay, bye bye, Francisco. Bye bye, everybody. See you
Thank you,
next.
everyone. Okay,
Bye, teacher. Thank you.
See you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, thanks.